Hi everyone. Hello. Hi Nancy and Abby, Rosemary, Linda. Welcome guys. Welcome. Hi Nick and Tina. Miranda, hello. Welcome to a colourful Christmas. I should say hashtag a colourful Christmas. Colorathon. Hi Joey. Hi Burinda. I'm good, thank you. Hi Debbie. I'm going to colour an image from the Christmas special, Colouring Heaven Christmas special. This is one of the ones by Charles Santore. I couldn't decide between this little one and this one, but I decided to go with the full face one. He's awesome. Hi Loretta, welcome. So yeah, thought we'd give this one a go. Do you reckon this is smoke around the outside of him? Like, is he standing in front of a fireplace? Is that like a close-up of the other one? Maybe. Let me have a look at the other one again. No, he's got his finger up to his mouth in that one. Hi Dorothy, welcome guys. Come in. Awesome, Loretta. So, there's loads of noise going on in the background today. Alicia's here. She's going to be doing some colours for some patrons. So, you wonderful patrons out there can have a colour list. And Nani's here too, but she's snoring. So, we might hear her in a little bit. Yeah, here's a pretty cool Santa too. Her. Nanny is good. Hi Annie. She's hi Dawn. Welcome guys. She's getting her stitches out on Thursday because she had her op, and she's doing well. She's getting very frustrated now. She's ready to run around. She doesn't want to be here. Hello. I'm going to use a marker base and some pencils. I don't know what pencils yet. I haven't decided, but I have got which paper today. Let me look. I'm using this one today. Strathmore Mixed Media Vellum Surface. This is the thinner one, so it's only 190 GSM. It's not quite as thick as the Bristol Vellum. Nothing happened. She was spayed. We had her spayed, so she can't have babies. We thought it might settle her down a little bit actually, but it has not at all. In fact, it's possibly made her more grumpy. But this is what I'll be using today. Hi Sherry. Hello Art Adventures. Hi Donna. Welcome peoples. Come in. Come in. No, she's good. Hello to anyone that I may have missed. Just going back up the list. I think I've said hi to everyone who's come in so far. We have a noisy I have a noisy mouse. I'm not sure how many are left. I keep forgetting to grab the link for it. So give me a sec and I'll see if I can post it from my phone. There you go. Done. On my phone. No worries. So, Merry Christmas. We had our Christmas dinner with one part of the family last night. And for those of you that were here on Friday when we were making the tags, just an FYI, my brother said he would have liked a unicorn. He was very upset he didn't get a unicorn. We should have done it. Damn. I'm going to do a couple of base colors and then I'm going to use pencils to do a lot of the details today. So I want to add a little bit of color into the white. I know, Dawn. It looks like a high school roster. So yeah, but everybody enjoyed their, whoa, hello, sorry, their tags, and that everyone enjoyed their presents. So yeah, it was good. I'm going to use some BV40. Did you get that one? Cool. For the white fluffy areas of his hat and his pom-pom. It's got a large white fluffy area up here. I might actually put my board down underneath this one because I need some firmer, because it's a thinner piece of paper. I need something to push down on when I get to the pencil section. Now this paper is really thirsty, so when it comes to markers, they need to be quite wet. Juicy, full markers on this paper, peoples. It is Charles Santore. I got it from the Colouring Heaven Christmas Special magazine. Maybe I'll just stick that on the side here so you can still see it. I'm just going to put some ink in this marker. It's running out. I have used this particular colour a fair bit because I've done a fair bit of white. That's what happens at Christmas time. Everything's white and snowy. So I'm just going to refill that. Okay. Gingerbread house sounds cool. I ate some gingerbread house last night. Wasn't very good, but didn't really taste like gingerbread. It tasted like cake with a hint of ginger, maybe. I like nice strong gingerbread that tastes like gingerbread. Alright, got our white fluffy hat done. Now I won't use this in his beard because I think purple's a little bit, I don't know, not quite right. We'll use a little bit of grey, I think. Maybe some C0. Did you see how much Colouring Heaven raised for Mind with their special issue? No, I did not. Just concentrating around the darker areas of his moustache and his beard and his hair. Copics, of course. I don't have any other markers. I did try to order some Everblend markers, but they wouldn't post them to me. They did have a 60 set on Amazon Australia, but I want the big set. I don't want a little set. What's the point of having them if I can't, you know, do a nice colour mix and do some colour charts and things with them? So at the moment I'm just sticking with my Copic markers. I do have the chameleons, but they take me too long. So I don't really get them out much. So how have we been going? Has there been heaps of streamers on? I haven't, because I've been busy with family stuff, I haven't sort of seen. I saw notifications that people were going live, but did they go well? I do not know. Nani's having a bit of a move around. I didn't have a pack of Copics. I have lots of Copics. I've collected them. I collected, I did get a set of 36 sketch markers. I don't know what set it was at the start, and then I collected all of the Chow colors, so everything that was in the Chow, because there's only, I don't know, 100 of those or something, and then I just gradually built in some more blends. So I didn't really buy them in pack, they all came separate. I brought them individually, collected them. So I've got over 200 markers. I actually don't know exactly how many I've got. Should count them. How many is there? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 37 sets of 8, roughly. Around 290. That's rough. There's probably a few less than that. A few less than that. I want to give this little Santa a bit of a yellow glow, because we're going to put some, make it like he's in fire. So I've got Y000. And I'm going to put this in the highlight spaces of his face. And a couple of highlight spots here on his hat. We're going to be covering over a lot of this with the reds in the hat and things, but in the beard and the moustache we'll be keeping a fair bit of that. I've just put that on every sort of little highlight area at the moment. And put through his beard a little bit as well. And this one's running out too. As I said, on this paper it's quite thirsty, so you do need to have quite wet markers. And I'm going to need to refill that one as well. Lucky it's not too, it's pretty easy to refill, so it doesn't take too long. I'll just get ink all over my fingers. Ooh, Rosemary, they have you can be a Copic ambassador. But they tend to pick people who do their own artwork rather than craft or colouring people. Tend to, I'm not saying they do all the time. But yeah, which is fair enough. There we go, just refilled it and now it's got more ink, you can see it better. Isn't he a jolly Santa? He's very happy. Hi Laura, welcome. Hi Pat, welcome. Anyone else that's popped in? Hello, welcome. Pam, hi. Hey, hey, hey. I see you there. Alright, now let's go with some E000 first for the skin. Just going to come over the face. We're going to cover this with pencil so it'll neaten out a little bit once we get that pencil on as well. Lip there. Do all that hair. And we should do a base layer of red for the outfit, and then the rest we can do then with pencil. And I'm thinking I might even do a bit of watercolor in the background, perhaps some green and red, and then we can do this as like smoke or something coming off a fire or snow. I don't know. Lucy's nodding. Red. I kind of want it to be red, but I don't want it to be too pink. So maybe we'll go with R46, which is called Strong Red. Thanks, Rosemary. Oh, rest well, Pat. Now, I'm just going to be pretty bold here, and I'm going to colour in the hat. I'm definitely going to need pencil to cover up this dark scratchy lines. And I find this paper is not like, it doesn't blend as smooth as obviously marker paper does either. So covering up with a bit of pencil will be good. It will just cover up any imperfections from the scratchy marker on that paper. I've left some gaps down here because I want a little bit of that yellow still to come through. We had a great day, a great evening. We've got another baby coming. It was a bit of a surprise. So next Christmas we'll have 3 babies. In the fam. Well, on that side anyway. I'll be an auntie again. It's always good. That's what Christmas is about, kids. It's nice to have some more around. Guess what? This one's empty too. I don't particularly want to take this one out with my fingers though, because it's red. So I find something to hold on to the nib. They are. Can't fill the chow ones quite as much, which means they run out a bit quicker than the others, so oh, it's not coming through. It's going to be a pain. Just try and wet the nib a little bit to pull it down. I just dropped a little bit on the end of it just to help bring the rest of that ink back down. Here it comes. Keep a bit of a gap for that yellow, hey? Oh, no worries, Nick and Tina. I don't have all of them. I have a lot of them. There's 390 something markers in total. So quite a few. I still have quite a few to go, but I actually have I managed to pick up a marker holder from a local art shop that were getting rid of it because they were redoing their shop, and it's an old touch marker holder that I use, but I was just using a box with some dividers in it on the side. Just had them all tucked in there before that. But I can show you if you like. Let me just take my camera out of its little thing for a sec. Sorry for those that get car sick. this is there's my refills at the top, and these are all my markers, and I've got Tombos and stuff in there at the moment as well, and some Eco Line ones. So that's it so far. Just pop this back on. Okay. I have pretty much all the colours in Posca pen. I like Posca. Why is that? They're they have a good mix of paint pens, and I quite like that. I'll keep some of that yellow in there. I'm going to crop it off on the bottom here so you won't be able to see that whatever comes over that bottom edge. Okay. All right, let's see what pencils we can use. I'm trying to put my markers. Oh, actually, in the face, I might just put a little bit of R20. Just in the cheeks here. Give him some puffy cheeks, pink, and maybe a little bit on his nose there too. Okay, that should be good. No worries, Donna. It is a Copic store, you're right. Space to grow, yep, space for refills, because I don't have all of the refills to the amount of markers that I have. So I'm just blending that R20 out with that E000 again. We had that before on there. Just making sure the edges. I probably should do his matte lips on with that as well, actually, because he'll have pink lips, not white lips. Let's do that. Looks a bit odd there, doesn't it? Round it off a little bit. That's it. Now we can start to add stuff. What colour eyes do you think Santa has? I think maybe green. Or blue. Blue. With white hair, blue eyes. Yeah, let's do blue. And alright, so wait, we've got to... I haven't done a base layer for the holly yet either. So we'll do the holly, we'll do the R46 for the berry. There's only one berry sitting there that I can see. Maybe, possibly there's a berry behind there, so I'm just going to do that and pretend there is. And let's do some green. We'll do, holly's usually got a dark sort of olivey green. So let's go with YG 95. and then blue for his eyes. So they last quite a bit longer. Hi Jem, welcome. Hi Graceland, welcome. So yeah, the sketch lasts a little bit longer. They're not quite double the size, but they do last a little bit longer. But for the price of them, and like the refills are exactly the same for each of them. It's just that the sketch come in all the colors and the chow only come in, you know, a select few colors. So they're exactly the same. It's just that they just last a little bit longer. But for the price of it, $5 as compared to, I think it's $11 here now for the big ones. Okay, now blue eyes. What's this one? B04. B04. He's only got one eye. He's a pirate. Arr. Hi Lestat, welcome. Caran works with Distress Inks. Zucchini Kitty is her YouTube name. Okay, now let's put in some coloured pencil. I want to use something that... It's a cocoa pop. I just found a cocoa pop. I want to use something that's more permanent, so I'm thinking maybe Polychromos. And we'll start with the reds. I'm going to use some dark red first. Polychromos. Camera's not very good here, peoples. It has, and everything is well. Thank you. Same with you, I hope that's the case. So I'm just coming over the top. I want to cover over all of that, the black lines. I want to try to get that so that they disappear. So adding pencil over the top will help do that. There we go. So it doesn't look black anymore. Light reflecting on it, you can't really see much at all, but shiny light. So just coming around all of the fluffy white sections, adding a little bit of a shadow behind those. This light's terrible actually at the moment. It's giving a really bad reflection. Okay, and back down here on his coat as well. Get rid of these darker spots. I'm actually going to grab a little bit of black as well. Black. No, have not heard from Helen. So I'm just going to add a little bit of black to that. I just want to add a little bit of depth. I'm going to do the same up here as well while I'm here. Just on that edge. I can hear someone mowing their lawns again. Everyone's mowing their lawns. It's going to be really hot this week, so I think everyone's just getting organised. The shorter lawns we have, the less chance of fires, things like that. We've got some massive 40-degree days coming up. That's Celsius, by the way. I don't know what that is in anything else, but it's hot here. Back to the dark red there. Oh wait, back to black, sorry. Just add a bit of black in here. So we can still see the red through it, but it's just allowing me to get a little bit more depth in there. It's also allowing me to cover up the scratchy marks, which are really good. It kind of makes it a little bit grayscale, I guess, doesn't it? Oh, I should have showed them the Batman things I did. On Friday when we did the Christmas cards and tags and things, we got asked to do a Batman place card for one of Alicia's friends. So I'll grab it and I'll show you. It's pretty cool. It ended up coming out alright. I did stuff it up and but yeah, it ended up looking alright. For some reason the gold didn't want to stick to the wanted to stick to all of the black paper through the laminator. It was weird. Now back in with that dark red, just covering in those other sections there, smoothing it all out a little bit. Hi Cassandra. Alicia's just gone to grab the Batman name tags, place tags. Here we go. I did two. One I did with the foils. Batman. And the other one I did with the embossing. I did well. So these ones are because we were doing the cards. Somebody asked if I could do Batman, so Alicia's going to give them to her friend this week, maybe sometime. They came out cool, didn't they? And then we ended up having to do, I missed a few cards, so we ended up doing a couple more tags, but this time we shrunk them down, and we didn't make them actual cards, we just made them tags. So we did these. We did well in the end. It took me another few hours after the stream to finish them all off. A bit more black down the bottom corner here. And then back in with that red again. Dark red. Is it dark? Dark red, yep. Okay. Just, I think I might add a little bit of black up here on the hat as well. These shadows a little bit more rich. Looks good. Going back over it with the red, dark red. Oh, thank you. It was lots of fun. It really was. We had a good time doing them. Didn't we, Alicia? She's shaking her head. Yeah, she's got a bit of a cold, so she's snotting everywhere. It's all good. Alright, now we need a lighter red. Let's go with something with a little bit of orange in it. So can't decide. I'm thinking maybe we'll go with deep scarlet red. Let's give that a go, see how that looks. That's a good colour. And I'm just sort of softening off the edges of the colour that I've already done and just flattening out the tooth and just smoothing out where the marker was as well, so we can't see any lines or gaps there. When I come down to this section here where I've put some of that yellow, I'm actually going to come in with a lighter red in there. So I'm just going to leave those spots still. The colours are really bad on my camera today. It's not straight either. Let me just get this camera right. Otherwise it looks blurry. That's better. Let's see if I can change the colour. I think it's the white balance. Oh, hello. Oh, that's better. You can see that it's red now. It kind of looked strange before. There we go. Hi, Lulu. Aw, thanks, Nick and Tina. Oh, wow, that's just early or late? Would you class 3:45 a.m. early or late? Let's say early. Unless you haven't been to bed, then it's late. I guess. Yeah. Early if you've been to bed, late if you haven't been to bed. Hi, Deb. Welcome. I'm just putting a little bit of pressure on down in the darker sections now because I want them flat. I want to get rid of all the lines and the roughness of the pencil. And now I'm going to need my brush because I'm going to start smudging if I'm not careful. Okay, I've got some pale geranium lake. Pale, oh gosh, look how bad that is. Let's just see if we can, nope. Oh look, ta-da! That worked. I'm just going to go really lightly over these yellow areas. Just really lightly. And I am going to cut the bottom off, remember, so it doesn't matter if I come over the edge a little bit. These sheets of paper are 9 by 12, so they're quite big. And then I'm going to grab some yellow. I'm going to go with perhaps not a bright yellow. Maybe we'll just go with some Naples yellow. It's not quite as bright as normal yellow, and just coming over that lighter glowing section. So we get our glow in there. Just using the pale geranium lake to blend that off. This center a bit of a glow. Turn it that way a bit. Yes, I do love my polys. Polys are still one of my favourite pencils. And I think they'll always be. I love that they've got light fast rating, I love it. They're smooth. They work well with lots of different papers. And I think maybe I'm a little biased because they were my first professional pencils. Don't know, but I like them. squeaky chair. Hi, Brittany. I'm going to use my colourless blender. This is the Caran full blender. It's already got yellow and stuff on it. Let me just clean it off a little bit. And I'm just going to blend that section out because it's still a little bit rough. I also like this because it puts a little bit of a wax coating over the top and it stops it from smudging a little bit too. Another one of my favourite tools. Polys don't smudge as much as some other brands though, so it's not quite so bad. Pretty happy with that colouring, looks good. Don't forget we're going to trim it off so you won't be able to see that little bit there. Alright, now let's go in with some skin. Got some light flash, some cinnamon. What else can I use? Might need a little bit of pink. And we need some depth, but I might use orange for depth because we've got yellow. Alright, so I'm going to use some sanguine first. Bit of orange in the darkest areas. Now, let me just... I'm going to say around there because he's got hair sort of coming over his face here. And I want to try to cover up these black lines. We want to try and get them blended in. It's got plenty of wrinkles. Wouldn't be Santa without them, I would say. I'm going to need something a little darker. Sorry, I'm just trying to find a colour that will go well. Maybe a little bit of sienna, burnt sienna. Burnt sienna. Let's go to this little thing here. Ta-da! Using the lines that are already there as my guide. Thanks, Cassandra. Lulu, I'm the same. We got home fairly early last night actually and I still wanted to get into bed. I like put my jammies on and climbing in. Even more of an incentive, we've got this fluffy dog to cuddle. Makes you want to get into bed. Now I need a little bit of black around the eye. Put some eyelashes on him as well. I'm going to move back to the sanguine again. Going over the burnt sienna. Bringing it out a little bit further from that. So my aim is to cover over all of the black lines if I can. Now we need a little bit of that down here in his lip. Next I've got cinnamon. Cinnamon's tiny. Look how big cinnamon is. I'm going to need to replace cinnamon soon. I can't even fit him in my frog. Look at that. It's disappeared. Can still sharpen him though. Got it in a pencil extender so I can hold that better. Hi Shara. She's adorable, Abby. She's adorable. So coming over the top with the cinnamon. Cinnamon. A lot of my dark lines should be covered fairly well now, and they are. They're looking pretty good. There's only a few there that I'm just gonna darken that pencil a little bit. Looking good. I'm still coming over those pink areas as well, but we are going to come in and put a little bit of a deeper pink in there with the dark flesh in a bit. I think I need a tiny little bit more burnt sienna just in the darker areas there. And then a little bit more of the sanguine. And then cinnamon again. She does, doesn't she, Alicia? She's funny. Alright, now let's grab some light flesh. And I'm just going to cover over everything. I'm going to come back in a minute and add in some more of that yellow because we've covered over a bit of it. There's still got a bit of a yellow tinge to it, so I can still see it underneath that pencil. Let's go in with that Naples yellow. And add a few highlight sections. Yeah, that looks good. Oh, maybe a little bit more in that edge there. And then still a little bit more of the light flesh. I want to start to flatten off the tooth now, make sure everything's covered. It's looking good. Got rid of a lot of the dark lines now too. And we can mainly see some sort of colour. Just adjusting it with those darker colours in those shadows. Nice. I'm going to use some dark flesh. Oh, you have, Pat? Fantastic. I can't believe we're nearly halfway through them. I just finished uploading the last of them onto Vimeo. So just adding some pink. So this is the dark flesh into the nose and also the cheeks. Give him a nice little red nose to show he's been in the snow. It's a bit cold. This dark line though around here is going to be hard to cover, but I'm going to use some white. I think we need a bit of a white highlight. Just adding a little bit to the eye there, just on the edge and on the bottom of the eye. I can zoom in a little bit if you'd like to just see that section. Gosh, it's grainy. Nope. That's still better. Thanks, Laura. Thanks, Shara. Alicia is her name, Graceland. Alicia. I heard it somewhere. You know Alicia Silverstone? She's in like Clueless and she plays Batgirl, and I really loved her. She's the same age as me. And I heard Ryan Seacrest, I think it was, talking about her, and he said that you actually pronounce her name. I'm using some light flesh just to blend a little bit more here. Pronounce her name Alicia, and I went, that's it, that's what I want to call my baby. So that's where it came from. And then we had to try and spell it so that people didn't call her Alicia, but you still get it, don't you? Still get called Alicia. Alright, I'm going to use a little bit of white. So I'm going to grab the Luminance white because it's a little bit brighter. Yeah, the 30-day blending challenge is a lot of fun, actually. It took me a little bit to get all those blends. And then recording the individual videos and things like that, but it ended up working really well. Just going to blend out the pink in the eye as well. Just blending some of the lighter areas using the white. And try some colourless blender, full blender. Get rid of some of those rough spots. Looks good. He's looking good so far. Just smoothing off the paper. Just going back to the black pencil and just adding in some eyelashes. I didn't want to add them before because they would have just smudged with the rest of it. Just give him a few eyelashes. Haha, he's cute. Let's use a Posca. We were talking about Posca before, weren't we? Is that a white Luminance? Okay, so this one was the white Luminance, which I used just to blend some of the white sections out, and this one is a Caran full blender in an extender because it's a little bit. Oh wait, I haven't put any blue in the eyes. Wait. We need to add some blue. Let's go with Phthalo blue. Phthalo. Phthalo blue. And let's add a little bit of white in there as well. I just want to lighten the blue off. Let's not forget the black pupil. And the white spot. I'm also going to add this to his nose. Just going to tap it with my finger though, because I don't want it to be quite so harsh. Nice, maybe a tiny little bit just here on this edge. And here. Just scratch it off if it looks too light. And I'm just going to pop a couple of little tiny little spots just in the corner of his eye there as well. And maybe just along the bottom edge. Give that a little bit of sparkle. Oh, he's awesome. Let's do his lip. Use the light flesh again there. I haven't used that yet. Down on his lip. A little bit of the dark flesh. A little bit of the Naples yellow just on the edge too, just of the lip there. And then we can add a little bit of white in there as well. Give him a little bit of a shine. How are we going for time? Good. We're going good for time. It's not normal. Normally I'm behind. What were you looking for? Trying to find one. Oh, Lumi White. Oh, I can buy them in open stock at my art shop here in Australia, so should I just zoom out a little bit so we can see how he's looking? Here he is, looking good. Let's just add a little bit of black into that berry at the top there. A little bit of that dark red. I think we should put a small dot of white on there too, just to give him a little bit of a highlight. That's it. Now let's get the greens done in that as well. First of all, using some Naples yellow in the leaves, just to come in, give it a bit of a yellow look on the edges. Because we covered over most of that, didn't we? Now, what kind of greens do we have? Buff titanium. Yeah, I only just got my buff titanium. I used it for the first time on Jennifer's image. Olive green yellowish. Olive green yellowish. Let's use those dark lines as a guide to where our shadows go. Oh, don't break your pencil. Sorry, Loretta. You can buy them on Amazon too, open stock. There's possibly a link in the description actually. White Luminance and Prismacolor White are the two that I have lots of. Now I need to blend that out, so let's go with, what have we got? There's not a lot of choice in greens in the polys. Let me just look at my colour list. I'm yet to do my booklet one yet. Let's go with Chrome Oxide Green. Needs a sharpen. Night Pat. Hi Renee, welcome. It has, hasn't it, Loretta? Just a light layer. I want the yellow and that light green from underneath to come through. I'm going to blend it with a little bit of the Luminance, which needs a sharpen. Hope you feel better. Just very carefully going over the highlight spots and just blending that green out. And then if there's any spots that are left, I'm going to use the colourless blender again and just flatten that out, just in case. I like it to be smooth. Stylistic choice. I like it to I don't know, I like it all to be one level. I don't know why. I just do. Okay. Looking good. Looking good. I think I need to add a little bit more yellow there though. Just a wee bit. Good. Okay, now we've got the white to do. So there's a white on the hat and then the white on the hair. So they're going to be slightly different. The white on the hat's like fake white. So let's use some cool greys through there. I got and the swing through the old sharpener. Let's also add a little bit of purple in there. Let's see. Got purple violet. I'm just going to put a little bit of this in the shadows, just a couple of streaks of it. I missed Lisa Matrokin again today. I woke up this morning and realised that she just finished. I was like, no, if I had woken up that little bit earlier, I might have caught some of it. Damn. Went and did some Christmas food shopping this morning. Went to the butcher's and ordered meat for next week to pick up for Christmas. And we thought we better eat this week, so I also brought some normal grocery shopping. Sound good, Alicia? You'd like to eat? I don't know where she disappeared to. She was here a second ago. Ordered some stuff to make cookies for Christmas Day. We're going to make chocolate chip cookies. They're kind of like they're a bit of a mix between a cookie and a, I don't even know, because they got no egg in them. My son's highly allergic to egg, and we don't cook biscuits and things with egg in them. So I have this recipe. It's actually really good, and they make like a chewy kind of cookie or a crunchy one, depending on how long you cook them for, I guess. But they're just like condensed milk, flour, sugar and butter. No egg. And then you just add your flavouring. So if you want chocolate chip, you add a bag of chocolate chips. I especially like dark chocolate chips in them. They come out amazing. The cheap brand ones, you know. So we got all that to cook up some cookies. But you could add anything in it. You could add that's hair. If you like white chocolate and macadamia, you could put that in there. You could put caramel, anything. It's just like a base biscuit. Here's my purple done. Oh, Renee, you love them. I love them. Where'd you go? You're back. Oh, you missed a colour. Did you get that? Purple violet. Also cold grey 6. Add a few streaks of that into the darkest areas. Did Nani pinch your seat? She spread herself out. Now I don't quite need to cover up the grey as much in the hat because we want to leave a little bit of texture, which is kind of good. It means you don't have to worry too much about getting over those lines. Oh, thanks, Lily. Ow! I just hit my toe. Oh, night, Rosemary. I'm going to be here tomorrow doing another colorathon stream. I don't know what I'm going to color yet. Something Christmassy. I downloaded some of Monya Gates stuff the other day. I'm going to have a look through. I also have to have a look through and see what I need to do to fill out the Colouring Carnival event one. I've got heaps I haven't done now. This is the most I've ever coloured at Christmas time, I tell you. Need a little bit more purple violet for the pom-pom. So I have not done that yet. Got half an hour to finish this off. Can she do it? Yes, she can. Moving down to cold grey 5. It's in Roman numerals, but it's 5. Trying to keep little lines just to show the texture of the fluffy sections. Fluffy sections. It's fluffy. I'm fluffy. But I am. Coming into the little pom-pom as well. Gonna add a little bit of the Naples yellow. Let's get some of this looking through our fur. Give it that bit of a glow. It's really hard to see in this light, but it's definitely there. It's just light. Just shading a little bit over that darker area there just to add that colour into the gaps. You know what, this can't be smoke, because wouldn't you be able to see his hat through there? Or not? Is it really thick smoke? It's a hard one. Any ideas, peoples? Aw, thanks, Graceland. Night, Lulu. He's a hot smoking Santa. He is. Let's add some grey. Cold grey too, I should say. Not cool grey, it's cold grey. To add some of that through there. A couple of strokes through the hat. Being a bit rough. And let's add some white Posca pen. Little highlight spots on that. Put a couple of flecks through the darker areas as well. And on the little pom-pom. Flicking out over the red part of the hat as well. He's not a magic man of Australia. It's kind of smoking hot though. What are they? Magic men. Never heard of them. We don't have magic men, do we? Come on. Okay, I've got white Luminance and just adding some more flecks through there. Now I want to move down to the hair and do down here. There was a bit of pink on there, so I've just covered that over with the Luminance. And I just noticed just here, I'm just going to fill this in with a bit of skin colour. There. Isn't quite right, but it'll do. Flick that hair up into his face a little bit there. Alright, let's do the Naples yellow. I'm just going to do a few flicks because we've got the yellow already in from the marker. That's sort of going to come through anyway, but we'll make these a little bit more defined so you can see actual strands of colour. Oh, this is magic men. They're definitely magic. I like. Thanks, Loretta. Nice. I think we do need some magic men then. Now over here I've gone over with red, so I just want to flick a few of the pieces of hair. And I'm going to use the Luminance and then a little bit of the, whoa, that's a bit bright, a little bit of the Posca, just to mark that in a little bit. Let's do the same over here. A little bit of the Luminance, because Luminance white is quite opaque, so it goes over lots of things. in some white, lighter strokes over the top. Okay. More yellow. I think I need to bring this bit out. That's a bit better. Kind of was rounded, and hair doesn't naturally look like that. It looked a little strange, so just going over those edges with that Posca again. Alright, let's add some colour. I don't know whether to add any purple, or maybe we should add a little bit of blue through his beard. Let's go with a bit of blue. Sky blue, to be exact. You're welcome. Bit of sky blue. Just a little bit. A little bit of colour to his mo. Nice. Same to his hair. So hard to do white, isn't it? Like, what do you do to get a white beard? You gotta still see curls and, you know, dark patches, but how do you do it? Well, we'll just add a bit of colour and see if it works. I think it's working. Yeah. We might not get the background done, but at least we've done a Santa. I was actually just going to use some watercolours in the background. Anyway, so we might be quick enough, we'll see. There's not a lot more of the hair I want to do, so I'm going to go upside down so I can get some of this over this side. Some texture in there. Getting bored over there. I didn't use very many colours, did I? No. Phew. Okay, a bit of cool grey. 2. Ho ho ho, Merry Christmas. A bit more of the Naples yellow in the edges here. And let's use some of the darkest grey V6 cold grey VI number 6 it is. I knew what I was saying, just wasn't coming out. That's a loud car. Adding a little bit of a shadow underneath the mow and the hair so you can see where one starts and the other one ends. And just a little bit more of a shadow under the lip there as well. He's pretty good. Pretty happy with him. Do some white through there and some of the Posca. Not that you can really see it. Still putting it in there. And then thank you. Oh no, I haven't been able to get them. I did look at them, Brittany, but are they the Mitsubishi ones? Is that the brand? I think they're Uni. I'm just laying it down, but I'm softening it off with my finger a little bit. Not quite so harsh. Where there's yellow, I'm just making sure I put a little bit of a highlight in those spots too, because they're going to be a little lighter. Oh, he looks cool. Oh, I've got something in my eye. He needs white on his pom-pom and the edges. That's better. Oh, there is? Oh. I haven't seen them before. I'm gonna try a little bit of green and red, I think, in the background here. I'm gonna use Tombows because that's what I've got right here in front of me. Maybe some sap green and some crimson's a bit pink. My trusty colour chart. Are you looking at them? How much are they? Yeah, that's the brand. I haven't seen them before. $850? What? No. That's crazy. Would you mind give me some water? Just spit black. Just use a water brush pen for now. Might be too pink. Thanks. I need a bit of water to get them to kind of blend together a little bit so that it's going to get quite wet. I feel like I'm going to need a little bit more red than that. That red's going to have to be really, really strong. That's better. Pocket change. Night Renee, enjoy your birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Hey, it's my cousin's birthday tomorrow. Happy birthday, Sarah. I'm just going to do that all over. We'll just alternate between the two. We'll add a little bit on here too so I can gauge where I'm going to put stuff. Welcome back, Miranda. We're just really Christmasying things up. Why is Christmas green and red anyway? Is it because of holly? Is it because holly's green and red? Maybe? Hi, Shadow. What? Are we talking without you? Did we go live and not tell you? Uh-oh. You woke Nanny up, Shadow. Shadow woke Nanny up and hi, Nanny. Hi, Nanny. Hello. Did Shadow wake you up? Did Shadow wake you up, baby girl? Yes. I love you. I love you. Oh. I love you. No, just in time for cuddles. Oh, I need to keep adding more and more on. I think that green could actually be a little bit darker, couldn't it? Let's try dark green. Are you right there, Miss Shadow? Oh. It's not really mixing well together, peoples. Hi, Tina. Shadow. Why are you taking over my stream? Thank you. That was nice of you. I'm not liking how this is coming out either. It's not working how I wanted it to. Maybe we'll try something different. Oh, go away. Not that one. Nanny, no. It's like trying to control a child when they want lollies, you know? No, I want it. I want it, kitty. I want it. I just wet the page first, and then I'm just going to drop on some of the colour. See if that goes a little better. Green. Bye, Nani. She was like, where's she going? And we'll go with red. It's not really working either. It's alright. Background will be a little strange. Thanks, Dorothy. Gee, that water dried really quickly. Didn't it? Got a purple colour at the top there. I did. A little green, a little red. Just making a mess. It's all good. Well, I was trying to get them blend in together, but I think I've just made a muddy mess. I think I've just made a muddy mess. Shush. Shush. Noisy kitty. Bye, Nicotina. Catches tomorrow. It's not too bad, but it's not really what I was going for. Wow. What? 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 Do you have to? Really? I know, Loretta. She's bossy as. Can hear her purring. She's pretty loud today. You purring, little girl? Hey? You're saying hello to everybody. Did you like the squeaking, did you? Is the squeaking good? She has her head in my hand right now. It's very cute. It's very cute, you are. Just don't attack it. That's likely to happen too. Yep. Oh. I dripped on you, sorry. Well, you're in my way. What am I supposed to do? Huh? Oh, it's looking pretty dodgy right now. What? Okay. I don't think I can get it to look more red. It just looks pink. No, I don't want red, I want green. You can hear her purring. It was so cute. Oh guys, I'm gonna make this like, I don't know, I might just come in with some white paint and just swirl some white paint around there to make that to make it like, I don't know, what are we gonna make it like? Just don't know. Don't know. I'm lost. I watered it down too much. It wasn't going anywhere. But I've got some, what have I got here? white. Titanium white. It's looking kind of dodgy at the moment, but this is just acrylic paint. I don't know if anyone's live after me either on this colorathon. Oh look, that's spreading out a little bit into there. That's fine. Look at that. That looks cool. But go and enjoy. Crap. I've got red in it. It looks pink now. Go and enjoy. I don't know who else is on today. Is anyone else on today? I should have asked Nicotina. I don't know. And I don't know what this is supposed to be. We're just keep going over it with the acrylic paint. Looks good. It will do. I'm going to need to go over it again when it's all dry because it's not coming out right here. Alright guys, well that's my Mr. Santa. I'm going to finish off the background. I'm just going to I'm going to let that dry and then add some more white acrylic paint over it and do this side as well. You know, it'll work out. It always does. Merry Christmas, and I'll see you tomorrow, guys. I'll be streaming again, my normal time, but we'll be continuing on with the colorathon. So I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, everyone.